Can you spot the difference? Oh boy, yes. We have a fully fitted bumper. Now, can you guess what I used to achieve that? And it's basically one of these. Well, a pair of them, I should say. And these are custom made bumper brackets. Now, a few people have possibly made them in the past. There's always been some solutions to curing Rover 45 rear bumper sag, not just on Mark II facelifts, but Mark 1s as well. But I have managed to get a set of these from someone who basically has them custom made for this particular job, and it is a very simple thing to fit. And I can't believe I've actually not seen this solution. I've always known that there were some different solutions to this problem. The first one being 50% of the job is getting the clips sitting nice and flush against the body, which I have done. That is 50% of the way to sorting that issue. If you haven't watched that episode, go back and watch it. It's the rear bumper fix, well, partial fix, as I would say. But this will completely sort the issue, as you have just seen outside. We're now going to do it on the worst side of the car, and let's see what difference it makes. And I will show you exactly how you go about fitting this. I'm going to bring you under here, and I'm going to show you exactly what's happened here. So under here, we have got the bottom of this actual stud. Now, this has been on for a couple of days. Okay. Now, up here, I just wanted to test this side out first before I showed you how to do it on the worst side, the passenger side. So up here, you have a pinch seam that runs along the back of the boot. See that pinch seam? Okay. This bracket basically pinches against that seam. Okay. And this bolt literally threads through, and you use these two nuts to wind this whole thread into the bracket up there, and that pulls the bumper back up. It is starting to actually show some surface rust on the outside. I should have painted this a bit more. You will need to possibly paint this, but it is galvanized, so I wouldn't worry too much. But the idea is that it has just been pulled up just a little bit, as you can see on this corner, enough to actually compress this slightly, and it's now sitting exactly as it should be. The bit that pinches against that seam, that pinch weld, is this bolt. So you've got the thread and the bolt that goes through, okay, and you've got this that's basically two nuts. They're all 17mm nuts on these, by the way. You'll need a 17mm spanner, and this is just a locking nut. This will just ensure that it doesn't come loose. You may want to use Loctite, but I've been told by the person who supplied this, who I'm going to shout out later, that Loctite really, I don't think it's needed, and I don't think he's put any on his, but you can do so if you wish. I may do so, but this has been on the car for a few days now. I've driven using this, and I've had no issues so far. So right, I'm going to show you how to put it on that side. And remember, if we just come over here, reminder, this is what it looked like before. Okay. Now, the question to start off with is, where do you actually put this? I've got to actually go over and polish this at some point. Oh, it's come up again. Sometimes I believe I went a little bit too much with the wet sanding, but I have been driving the car just for a couple of days and no issues, touch wood, so far. But anyway, we've got the clip sitting flush. Now, the idea is that we've got to find a place on this seam, this pinch seam, where to put this top bracket. So the first thing you do is we're going to have to take this off for a start. Okay, so wind this completely off so the thread comes straight out. Okay, so pop that on the floor. Okay, now this, you're going to want to have the bolt on this side, so it's got to be on the outside. So if it's over that side of the car, it's that way, but it's got to be on the inside, because unfortunately, because of the alignment of that, when you actually put it through, if you do it that way where the bolts are on this side, yes, it's easier to tighten it up, but it won't line up properly. This will be sort of wonky, it'll be at an angle. Now, the idea is you've got to select a place in which to put this. So preferably, I would say around this point here. okay, because remember it's going to go straight down. So I reckon we need to put it along the seam around this point. So what we do is we have to come right down, and then we basically decide where to drill the hole, okay? And it has to be a 10mm hole we're drilling through, okay? So around about here, not too much on the outside, we need it towards the inside preferably, okay? But round about the middle, but more or less towards the inside if possible, because then it's not going to be so much relying on the outside strength of the bumper. I preferably I've done it on that side, in that manner, but literally now we will just bolt this up in a suitable place. Right, okay, so what I've done, just show you with my torch, is I've now clamped it at a particular place along the rail. Obviously this will be longer on the saloon versions, but this is the hatch, so you get this section of pinch seam. And again, what we might have to do is just adjust the position, so we might have to move it slightly backwards and forwards depending on where we tend to drill the hole next. But the hole kind of has to be around here, not too far down here. We don't want it down there because it's going to have no effect. If you think about it, if you push it with that, it's not really going to do much. You need it to be here. This is the piece that's going to push the bumper back up. So make a little mark. Make sure you just get it more or less near the inside than the outside edge, and then go from there. It has to be a 10mm hole. So get a 10mm stepper drill bit or a 10mm piece. And I've got one with me actually now. These things are ever so useful. So yeah, use the stepper drill and go up to about 10mm. I think it's about 5 steps. These are really nice pieces, these are, but it takes literally 2 seconds to cut into the bumper. Really easy. Just make sure, again, just make sure you know where you're drilling, okay? Again, we just go from, I say, that point, preferably around this point down here, and drill the hole between my 2 fingers, anywhere around there. Let's go. There you go. All done. Right. There we go. There's your hole. Now, as I said before, you put the hole closer to the inside than the outside. I think that's what's worked for me on my car. And obviously it's now big enough to accept this. Remember, don't go too close to this inside rim because this is quite a big piece, and if you go too close you could have a problem. Look at that, I've actually gone, oof, that was tight, that was very tight. So closer to the inside but not too close, because otherwise this is going to butt up too much. But I've literally got it perfect, and I've done it on both sides that way. Just drag it back through bits of plastic. Go away. Okay, so what we can do now is pop the threaded bar all the way through. Now at this point we've got it kind of, if I just push it there, see what I mean, it's gone a bit off. So we do need to kind of move this across a little bit, this bracket at the top. So I'll just readjust it and move it this way. Right, what I've done is I've just, as I said, I've moved the bracket across to line up with the actual stud. The nuts are back on. Put the nuts back on obviously before you bolt it into the bracket. So once it's threaded in, okay, the idea is with these 2 nuts is you can turn the whole shaft by turning this bottom nut. I'm just going to get my 17mm spanner and we're literally just going to keep turning it inwards. Now what's going to happen now, this is, by the way, this is secure on the back. I will have to tighten this up a bit more. Might have to go in a little bit more with the 17mm, just loosen the lock nut. So what I've got to do, if you can see, just loosen the lock nut, and that will allow you to just get this in a little bit more. So I might have to get my spanner on it again. You might have to readjust this, but I've put it, what I've done, I've taken the lock nut off and I've tightened it up as far as it will go. Okay, that's not going to be tightened up until I've actually adjusted it properly, because once this is adjusted up, yeah, it's still moving. See, I can actually turn it with my physical hand actually at the moment. It's actually turning into the thread. As you can see where the paint is disappearing, so you can see it go up. So it's all good at the moment. Okay, after about 5 to 10 minutes of adjusting this up and then having a look to see how things are, I've actually pretty much stopped. As you can see, I've had to tighten this up a lot because otherwise it would drop. This pinch nut is absolutely super tight now. I've locked it in place, and you can see it's pinched the seam a little bit. It has crushed the seam, but the truth is, it's, you know, it's one of those functional things again. It had to be crushed in order to get a good grip on the actual seam itself. But the pressure that this bumper is under is actually quite intense. But it's only just started to bow a little bit, which just indicates that there's a lot of strength in this. I presume it's ABS plastic, but anyway, it's all been tightened up. Let's see the results. Oh boy, that is 10 times better. I do apologize, we are losing the light at this moment in time. Now, I was looking at this earlier, and mine certainly bows out a little bit on the sides. I think there has been some natural distortion of the bumper. It seems to be rubbing very closely there at the back light. Same on this side, it's rubbing very, very closely indeed. But on the outside, there seems to be more of a gap. Now on this side, it seems to be a lot better. It's still sitting proud. That's what you're going to get on that side, and this side is no exception. It is sitting just a little bit proud, as you can sort of tell there, really. But really, honestly, that is as good as what it's going to sit. It's been sagged for many years and it may have distorted, but that clamp has literally raised it up. And I've got to be honest with you, I wouldn't really give that too much of a glance. That's a lot better than what it was before, and it took me 15 minutes. So I'm now going to do a shout out to a very, very good person. And a really big thank you in all of this to Lee Millwood. Now, Lee Millwood is a Facebook group member on the Rover 45 ZS group. He's the one you contact. I'll put his name in the description of this video, and he's the person you go to if you want a pair of these brackets. If you've got this issue, then Lee is the one to contact. If you want to contact me first, that is absolutely fine. I have his details and I will pass the information on to Lee himself. I'm absolutely chuffed with the results that these brackets have just given. You've seen the results. It now doesn't look like a neglected, saggy, crappy rear bumper. It actually looks really good, and it's a slight modification needed. I am going to probably paint them in silver at some point, but honestly, this is the perfect solution, and here's the person to go to. Now, Lee sells these at £30 a pair, including delivery, first class delivery, and I think that is really good money for something that is custom built. It probably costs, about £15-20 in materials, because these are actually galvanized. They are galvanized, okay, and they have been properly made to sort this issue out, as you have seen on this car. So do you know what, for a solution, it is a very good solution. And this is the power of the community groups, because sometimes the manufacturer never made repair parts and there is just nothing available out there from the big manufacturers, so people have to make their own stuff. And this is exactly the purpose in the Facebook communities, the groups, the YouTube communities. It's all helping to keep these cars on the road, and this is such an amazing thing. So Lee, thank you so much for this, buddy. And I'm pretty sure that there are people who've watched this video who will want to buy a pair of brackets. So really, honestly, it's definitely a must have if you have this issue. Anyway, take care, guys. I will see you very soon, and onwards to the Pride of Longbridge. Touch wood.